Calvin Graham was the youngest serviceman in the U.S. military in World War II. He lied about his age and enlisted in the Navy at the age of 12 years old, and it wasn't discovered until after he was wounded. The reason why I'm talking about the heroes of World War II is so we can inform y'all about the importance of remembering and honoring the heroes. World War II was devastating in many ways, but it is important to let people know that it's a brave and courageous war that many people fought, and there was many, many heroes. I'll talk about the heroes of leadership, the battlefield heroes, and the resistors of the Holocaust. First, I'm going to talk about the heroes of leadership. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during the Second World War. He was very intent on fighting the Nazi machine, meaning that he was very intent on not letting Hitler and the Nazis take over all of Europe. So he was very resistant to make sure that they didn't go to his United Kingdom and that he could stop them before they got that far west. Because he had already he started off taking Poland, and he was just moving his way through Europe. And another big hero in leadership was FDR, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was the President of the United States from 1932 to 1945. He dealt a lot with the Great Depression, and then he went straight from the Great Depression to the World War II. He became a very popular president whenever he declared war on Japan, whenever they attacked Pearl Harbor, almost immediately after they attacked Pearl Harbor. And he was a very public figure because he had a lot of speeches that caused a lot of good morale. Okay, and next I'll talk about the battlefield heroes. These are more heroes that you haven't necessarily heard of, but they were amazing. John Mad Jack Churchill was in the British Army. He was the only man in the British Army to carry a longbow and a sword. He led many raids and survived being shot in the neck. He was captured, escaped, captured again, and escaped when the camp's lights were out. So he was captured and then he escaped whenever the power went out, and it was an amazing thing that he did. And then the next man I'm going to talk about is Lieutenant Colonel Matt Urban. He was nicknamed the Ghost by the Germans because he would fight bravely and get injured and continue to come back. Urban was the most decorated American officer of World War II. He would fight in a battle and he would get slightly injured or maybe majorly injured and then recover and then come back. Even one time he was in the hospital, but his unit was out fighting, so he escaped from the hospital, fought in a battle, and that was his most known battle. And the third man from the battlefield that I'm going to talk about is Master Sergeant Llewellyn Chislin. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but he was known as the one-man army during his time in the army. He came to this nickname when he was prisoner of war and escaped and took 40 of his captives single-handedly. He was captured, and it was really cool because he not only escaped, but he ended up taking his captives prisoner, which is remarkable and unbelievable. And now I'll transition to the final thing I'll talk about, which is the heroes who fought the Holocaust. And this is really big for me because I really admire these people because they saw a wrong being done and they were resisting it and trying to make it better because they weren't going to be the bystanders who just saw it happening and not do anything about it. The first one I'll talk about is the British soldier Charles Coward. He was remarkable in getting aid to the prisoners in the Nazi death camps. He and many of his comrades in the army would smuggle food and supplies to the prisoners in the Nazi camp. And once he smuggled himself into Auschwitz to spy on everything for one night and was able to get back out, and he ended up testifying at the Nuremberg trials about what he saw in Auschwitz and how bad it was. Okay, and the next man I'm going to talk about is Nicholas Winton. He ended up saving 669 children from going to the death camps and facing that horrible death, whether it would be the gas chambers or something else. He would set up homes and hostels for the children who are at risk from being taken from the Nazis. And the next person, which is probably the most well-known person that saved Jews in World War II, is Oskar Schindler. He was credited for saving over 1,200 Jews from death in concentration camps. The way he ended up doing this was he would put them on his list, which made him they would come work for him at his factory. He went from being making millions on the war to dying penniless because he put all he had into saving those Jews. And in conclusion, there were many, many more heroes of World War II. I just highlighted a couple that I found really remarkable. Some were well known, like Oskar Schindler, Winston Churchill, and FDR, and other ones weren't, like Master Sergeant Chislin or the British soldier Charles Coward. But we need to make sure we remember those people, and because they fought to save many lives, whether those descendants still live today.